lost me just maybe, so I can stop and try to make it clear, because I think it's good to get at least one message from the lecture. Usually people say we can remember 5 things from a lecture, so if you remember 2, I think it will be good, but properly. So I'll try to make a stage for this and introduction, and you have heard a lot from Wolfgang this morning or yesterday on general system theory, and what I'm going to tell you is in accordance to this theory, just another language for the same thing. And I wish I could understand all the lectures in Spanish, but I didn't. I just caught just some words. I can understand some words, but not the whole thing. I guess this morning lectures were also very relevant and connected with this one. Okay, and you know the title, so it's about information and computation. And the information in this system or in this approach is understood as that dynamics of information is understood as computation. So those are the 2 ideas we will have focus on: information and computation. And you will see how those relate to everything that we know about the universe, about ourselves, and so on. So you see the picture. I'm coming from Mälardalen University, as you have heard, and you can see where my university is located in Sweden. And you can also see the group of my colleagues, my female colleagues, researchers from Mälardalen University. And my background in teaching is this list of courses, and my research is focused on this list of topics. The main is computation paradigms, which means the different ways we are using to compute. What ways can we use to compute in the best possible way? You know, we have our PCs and everything that computes in some specific classical accepted way. What we are trying to do now is to go a step further in learning how to calculate or how to compute more than we ever were able to, which means it will have a lot of other consequences in computing power and in our ability to simulate, to emulate, to compute and so on. So that's the main point here. And you will find this presentation on my webpage. So if you wish to know anything more about this, you can find, just if you know my name, you will find my webpage, and on the webpage, on the presentation, you will find a lot of materials there. So this is the webpage and the presentations here. So let me proceed. The lecture is based on 2 articles. So for details, in case you are interested in details, you can refer to those 2 articles. One is dynamics of information as natural computation. So you understand information in a much more general way than just simple messages. You can say that whole of the nature can be seen as informational structure. We as an agent in the world interact with the world through this information. So we get information through many different channels, and we process information in a specific way. Not in a way as a PC does, but in some biological information processing way. So we are trying to understand really how those processes go on in the human society, because we as a society also communicate through information and use information to manage everyday things, to build up our knowledge and everything. And another paper is written in collaboration with Mark Bergin. He is a mathematician from UCLA, and he is famous, well known for his theory of super recursive algorithms. That's mathematics. But we have been thinking about how to understand the development of mathematics in the context of development of computing. And this article is about unconventional algorithms. Do you have an idea what is an algorithm? It's a procedure, you know, algorithm to make subtraction or to make multiplication. It's a recipe how to do to get this result. You have a precise, finite description of what to do to get the result. So you calculate your functions or compute your functions using different algorithms. And this is about unusual algorithms, unconventional algorithms, and why we need to have both classical approach, which is typically axiomatic. Do you know what is axiomatic? Axioms are the rules you pose in order to define your logical system. So I would like to have my logical system well defined. And the first thing is I define the list with axioms. And then from those axioms I can derive all the truth that is possible within this framework. So you have a combination in this article of approach which is algorithmic, which is based on axioms, so finite closed system of rules. And then possibility of a system to open towards the surroundings and exchange information with the surroundings and change its rules of the game. So the classical approach in physics and in many other classical sciences is that you have a closed system, a closed axiomatic system, and your rules do not change. You have always the same rules. But if you want to model a human or any biological system, those systems are open. We couldn't survive if somebody would close us in a box. We would die after a very short time. We must communicate with the environment. We must take energy from the environment. We must take out what is the rest product. We must communicate all the time with the environment. We must breathe and so on. So such biological systems, they take from the outside and they change all the time. They are in a process all the time. And in order to be able to efficiently model such systems, we have to develop other sorts of approaches. So not only closed axiomatic systems, but the systems which can change their axioms, which can learn from the environment, which can exchange information with the environment. So that's the topic of this other article. And I start from the beginning about computation as information processing. And this is already known. You have certainly seen the history of computing starts with the big names like Zuse in this first picture, and Turing, and von Neumann, and such people who developed the basis of what we have as a computing today. What we aim at is computing which will be able to understand the behavior of this picture in the middle. What do you think this picture represents? Quickly. It's a human brain. Those are the connections between different parts of the brain we are using when we think or when we operate in the world. So there is a network, enormous network of neurons which communicate with each other and process information in our brains. And what do you think this picture shows? It's an internet. It's internet. So you can find similarity between how our brain is connected with how internet is connected. And even more, if you would look at biological systems, the network of interactions between proteins in our cells looks like this as well. So this is a really interesting fact, that we can model the world in terms of networks. And you know already, certainly, that the world is organized in levels. So if you look at the basic level, we can start with atoms, you can start with elementary particles if you wish, and then you go to atoms and molecules and let's say cells and tissues and organisms and so on and so forth, up to galaxies. So the levels of organization can be identified in the physical world. Those are differently organized forms of matter. The most simple ones, the basic ones, are elementary particles. And how do we, as agents, learn about this world organized in levels? We take those data that we find in the outside world and organize them into information in our information processing system, which is our body and our brain. So we use our body, our nerves to transport information, our brain to process information, and again our body to act in the world in order to get more information, and so on and so forth. So information, which is based on data, is very important for every organism, not only for humans, but for every living being, in order to be able to survive and to flourish. You can see here basic concepts in terms of networks. The first one is protein network in the yeast cell, human protein interaction network in human cell. Human connectome, it's a project, as you have seen in the first picture, which shows the different connections in our brains, in the network of neurons. And then we have also social networks, and you are very much aware of existence of those social networks, where humans interact with each other in different constellations. It's in smaller groups which interact with other groups and so on. So there is something in this idea of network as a way of communication of information. And I will go very quickly through some pictures in order to make a point and not to take too much time of you. So our knowledge today, if we take all the sciences that we have, is on one side it's big, it's enormous. On the other side, it has a lot of holes, a lot of fields that we really don't understand. One of the fields is complex systems and emergency. How things emerge from one level to the next. How does life emerge from non-living molecules? We don't really know. We would like to know. How to construct, how to synthesize the first cell out of molecules. People have ideas about it, but we don't know still. We don't know about physics well enough. Maybe I have a picture. No, I don't. I can tell you that we know about 4% of matter in the universe. 4% is classical matter and energy that we know about in physics, and the rest is dark matter and dark energy that we don't know what it is, which indicates that our theories are not adequate. We have to learn more and understand better in order to be able to reproduce what we see in the universe. We don't understand mechanisms of life and origins of life, and human brain, as I mentioned. So you have a lot of things to learn and to contribute to knowledge of your time, because there is a lot of work to do. And what we don't understand on the level of principle is mechanistic versus complex systems, or reduction versus holism, where you take a part or take the whole. Also, observer dependence. It means how I, as an observer, interact and change the object I observe. In social sciences, it's obvious. If I observe a human and I show myself directly, it will affect the experiment, the result of the experiment. And it's a little bit different situation in natural, for example, in physics. But anyway, you can understand that the observer changes the state of the system which is getting observed. By the way, how many of you are from natural sciences and technology? And all the rest are humanists or something? Okay, good to know, because I focus differently. And you have heard a lot about complexity. I can say in my world, a complex system is a system composed of interconnected parts that as a whole exhibit one or more properties, behavior among the possible properties, not obvious from the properties of the individual parts. So you have many parts, and then you have some new properties of the whole. And in this model, what is interesting is that you can reproduce the behavior of a very complex system by starting with simple assumptions, with simple rules, with simple computational rules. And then running those rules many times, you get more and more complex results. Have you heard of Wolfram, Stephen Wolfram? Mathematica, some people are using Mathematica. Stephen Wolfram has written a book, a new kind of science, describing how we can model systems which look like very, very complex. But they are actually the result of generations of computational algorithm which you run for a time. And then you get a picture which looks like very, very complex. So you do not see those simple rules which are on the bottom of this computation. And you can see the list of topics. Yes?
Excuse me, I would like to know, what do you mean by God eye view?
Okay, God eye view is very typical in old theories of science, where you do not position your observer in one way, in one specific way, but you believe that you see everything at the same time from all the perspectives. You know absolutely everything about the system. So why are we saying that information is important as an idea? Because if you imagine your agent, the agent knows about the world from the interactions with the world. So as an agent, whatever agent in the world you place, you can place a machine, a robot, human, animal, whatever. This agent can have certain information from where it is, how it looks like, what sensors this system has, how it processes information and so on. So that's not the God eye view. That's a real agent's view of the world. But if you believe that you can, or you like to say everything about the system at once, you do not take the stand of a specific agent, but you pretend you know everything, then you take this God's eye view. And that's important for complex systems, because as an agent you get just partial views of a complex system, which different agents can see in different ways. So we have to collect all this information in order to understand how the whole system looks like. And you see the long list of topics which are related within this theory of complex systems. So it's huge field. And if you want to really understand what's going on, we have to connect a lot of things from physics, biology, chemistry, psychology, cognitive science, social sciences, you name it. A lot of things. And it's very exciting time to be in, to see those sciences coming together and exchanging their knowledge. Because the typical situation today is that one science does not see the other science as something going on right now. You have a delay in your information. So what is needed is direct communication between different fields. And the infrastructure is needed for that. If you wish to see some videos about relationships between simplicity and complexity and so on, there are links in my presentation I will not have time to show it. But those are very, very short videos which are very instructive, I would say. This one is about generative models, from the origins up to complexity. For example, origins of life, abiogenesis, or origins of genetic code, or origins of intelligence, and so on. So the ambition is to be able really to understand everything from the first beginning, from the Big Bang or whatever was the beginning of the universe, up to now, to the humans, to the human societies and everything, in one and the same framework of systems which interact with each other, of a completely rational project from the beginning until the end, without any supernatural ingredients or anything mystical in it, just to understand how nature produces whatever we see in nature today. And as Wolfgang said, the central thing is self-organization. This self-organization looks like different at different levels. So atoms self-organize differently, molecules have their own way of self-organization, and on every level of abstraction or every level in nature you have different sorts of self-organization. But it's anyway self-organization. And another important thing is adaptation, ability to adapt. If you have a system in the environment, this system is forced to interact with the environment and change its behavior, especially in living systems. It's essential for survival, for a living system to learn how to survive in a given environment. And if you want to model complexity, complex systems, our best approach is agent-based models within computationalism, within the framework that I'm talking about. And an agent-based model is a computational model for simulating the actions and interactions of autonomous individuals in a network. So an agent is an individual, and it has certain structure, and you define also interactions between those individuals, those agents. Here I have a long part of explanation about information. So if you ask biologists what is life, you will get a very, very long answer. And it's the same thing if you ask information scientists about what is information. It's a very huge field. So one single definition will not do, but here you can see one of the motivations why information is becoming so important for us today. Among others, in physics, in classical physics, you don't need information because of the structure of the theory. And for complex systems, you cannot do without information. Information is absolutely central. And here is how you build this structure from data information to knowledge. So you start with data, and you connect the data into some structure. You make some sense of your data, and you get information. Making sense of pieces of information together gives you knowledge. And there is also a theory, an approach, a formalism, or a framework which is called pan-informationalism, or informational structural realism. It's an approach where you can say, I mentioned already, that the whole of the universe can be seen as information in different constellations, in different structures, but basically information. I can mention Luciano Floridi's work in this field and the articles about how you can understand the universe as information. And the other basic idea is that information dynamics or information changes, processes of information, can be understood as computation. So those are the two basic ideas. if you understand all the processes in the nature as computation, anything that is happening, then you come to natural computationalism. So computing nature. Here are the illustrations of processes that we can understand as computation. And I can tell you, now I must hurry up, I guess. No, how much time do I have?
You're their boss.
Okay, please tell me when I have to, so I can continue as well. The model that we have today, which is the leading model in theory of computation, is called Turing machine model. Have you heard about Turing machine sometimes? Anybody? Okay, it's, yeah, right. Some people have.
You didn't. Turing machines. No? You are the end. The people.
Okay. But anyway, it's very, very simple mechanism. So you have a tape, you can say infinite tape, divided into squares, and you can read or write on this tape. That's the memory of the system. And then you have a control unit, which is changing its states, and it is connected to the read and write head, which can read the symbol, write the symbol, or move left or right on this tape. And that's all, that's everything. So basically, idea of Turing, when he made this machine, was to represent the behavior of a human. When we calculate, when we make sums or calculations, whatever we do on a piece of paper, he wanted to represent it in this machine. Now the question is this machine the only thing that we can accept as computation? And the answer is that there are many authors or many researchers and scientists who would say that we can do beyond Turing machine model, and we actually need more advanced models in order to be effectively model biological systems, sociological systems, and so on. So we go beyond this Turing machine model if we accept that the whole of the nature computes and we learn from nature how to compute even those systems which formulated in terms of Turing machines will not be computable. So there is also a claim made by Peter Denning, who would argue that today computing, the whole of computing, is becoming natural science because we are learning from nature how to compute. From biosystems, biocomputing, DNA computing, quantum computing, membrane computing, many different types of computing that we use from nature and try to learn how to cognitive computing as well. So there is a claim that computational ideas are spreading like a wildfire through the university, through the research fields. Everybody is using computing as a model, as a tool to model or to understand or to predict. And maybe most striking thing is that cognition, our cognition is also possible to model as a computational process. So many people will say, okay, you can model machines, you can model non-living things, but our mind is something completely out of scope for computation. And actually, it's not so. If you look at the development within modeling of cognition or modeling of brain and body interactions and interactions within robotics, you will see that we are on a good way to learn how to reproduce the intelligent behavior of an agent by computational means. First studying the brain structures and ways of processing of information, and also how the brain controls the body and how the body interacts with the environment and how all this information goes the whole way around. So, do you know what is cognition? I have one proposal for the definition. It's process of perceiving, reasoning, decision-making, and thinking. So those processes are included in cognition. Body's and brain's way of processing information to create meaning or make sense for an agent. And guess what? People are using what we learned from the brain and the body relationship and our way of functioning as cognitive agents. They are using it already in cognitive computing technologies. For example, in cognitive network technologies, you have steps or parts in the system which perform learning, observation, orientation, decision-making, acting in the environment, and so on. So we are really taking impression of what we have learned about how intelligent agents behave in the world in order to construct technology which will be much more intelligent. So we see all the time that our machines are not intelligent. So if you make some mistake, the machine does not understand what you mean. And it does not understand that you need to clean your desktop, or I don't know, many things that intelligent computing would be able to do for us. So the idea is to make those machines much more intelligent. But the first step is to learn how our brain works, how it is structured, and how it works, and how it controls our bodies. So there is a big flagship project, a European project, which is called the Human Brain Project. And the aim of the project is to really understand how our brains work, which are normally they are very complex systems, and this is really high-level science, a very complex project as well. And 80 research institutions from all over Europe are participating in this. A lot of effort in visualization, in analysis. Biologists are working in this, computational scientists, cognitive scientists, many highly qualified people, in order to collect all this knowledge that is necessary to reconstruct how the brain works and how we can use these ideas to make machines which will be able also to intelligently process information. And now maybe just a short notice on how we can understand our learning capacities or knowledge generation capacities based on this framework of information and computation as a process. One of the questions is how the structure, this informational structure of the world, which is in our brains, which is around us, how it behaves in time. What is the process going on? How the changes are going on? And here is a quote from Goethe from chaotic logics, which says that dynamics leads to statics, and statics leads to dynamics, and this analysis of two provides the beginning of understanding of the process called mind. So if you think about mind, it is not an object, it is not a thing, it is a process going on in our brains. So this mind is a process happening on this informational structure, and this process can be understood as computation. So we need much better models for computation in order to be able to match those things that we are discovering about the brain and natural computation. So there are many misunderstandings in this field. One of these is classical claim that it's impossible to imagine that evolution has led to our minds, to the beings with the capacities of minds. And they say, that's so incredible, as if you say that the bunch of monkeys are by chance typing Shakespeare's work, and they succeed. It's totally incredible that the evolution with its random processes and blind chance, what they call, would ever lead to such a fine mechanism as our minds. And what is the answer to this criticism? The answer is that we are not talking about typewriters. We are talking about computers. The systems in the world, they act as the computing systems. So if you type whatever in a computer, if you have a program behind, you will get some output. You can get a lot of meaningful things from the fact that natural objects self-organize. They self-organize because of the physics behind, or because of all different sorts of processes going on different levels. So this self-organization must be taken into account. This is not only blind chance, which leads from the simple organisms to humans and to societies. It's also self-organization, very, very central thing. And so the way of understanding knowledge generation in terms of naturalism is that we look at knowledge as a natural phenomenon. And the subject matter of epistemology, epistemology is the science of knowledge, or the knowledge about knowledge. So the subject of epistemology is not about our concepts of knowledge, but about knowledge itself, how it appears in different sorts of organisms through the evolution. So the suggestion is that we understand cognition as a process of computation. So when we model this process of going from data to information to knowledge, all the steps are computational steps. And those types of computation, again, are not the simple computation that we have here, not the Turing machine computation. So that's the claim. It's information processing. And cognition can be understood as computation. So in anything in biology, if you want to understand anything in biology, you must take into account evolution. It's completely impossible to understand biology without evolution. And this is a suggestion how you can understand the simplest organism as a cognitive system. And that's the idea of Maturana and Varela, Santiago of Chile School of Cognition. They would say that a simple organism, like one-cell organism, bacteria, whatever, is a cognitive system, and their cognition consists in their metabolism. And I would add also, it is their locomotion which helps them to improve their interactions with the environment and to collect enough information and process it. So it's impossible to understand our capacities of thinking or solving problems, of making decisions and everything, without understanding the whole process of evolution from the simplest organism, which is able just to detect where is the food and where is the danger. I go towards food and I run away from danger. Very simple organisms. And also if you look at insects, they are really like machines, reactive machines. You can model them as such. And starting from those very basic capacities to move, to feed, to get energy from the outside, to identify your way in the world, and then you build on that in organisms which have a nervous system and the ability of processing information causes complexification, causes more and more complex structures in those agents, evolutionary. So you get more and more advanced brains which enable agents to interact in more and more sophisticated ways. So it just proceeds towards more and more complex nervous systems, brains, everything. So evolution is absolutely essential in this understanding. So that's the main line of thinking. You need, in order to understand how our cognition works, we must understand cognition development from the simplest organisms up. And that is something that we are trying to model, for example, in synthetic biology. Synthetic biology is one field where you try to reproduce the behavior of simple organisms. So you can simulate, you can construct those organisms and test the behavior in the simulation. As I mentioned before, it is very important to take into account the system must be open. So this openness enables the organism to survive, to learn, to develop. And the way they do that is called morphological computing. That's the way how information is restructured during the interactions with the environment and during the processes going on within the agent. The processes which are the interaction between the memory and the streams of information that we get from the outside. So the idea of this framework is you connect informational structures with computational dynamics or computation. So that's called infocomputationalism. There are many points that I have to jump over because this can take hours. But I think I will stop here. There are many, for example, the topic on how the computation goes on, parallelism between computational processes, or the question of digital and analog. Is the world really made of discrete things, or is it continuum? Do we need both continuum or discrete? That's a big discussion. Also, we mentioned in the beginning, or Jose Maria had a question about synthesis and analysis. This is a picture of from Douglas Hofstadter, from his book Gödel, Escher, Bach. Anybody knows about this book? It's a beautiful, beautiful book. I recommend really. There is a picture in this book which shows the relationship between. This is about the holism and reductionism. And you know, reductionism, it is the result of analytical approach. You analyze and get the smaller and smaller pieces of the system. And holism is you take the whole system into account. And his picture illustrates that you need both. You build your whole holistic picture out of parts which are obtained by analytical methods. But of course it's not so simple, it's not a static picture, it's a dynamic one. But anyway, it's very suggestive. So, I think I will stop at this point and say that infocomputationalism in a nutshell, nature can be described as a complex informational structure for a cognizing agent. Computation is information dynamics, and computation is constrained and governed by the laws of physics and at the fundamental level. I will just show you or recommend you some very good books. For example, Special Sciences and the Unity of Science, how they connect. This is a very new book. The colleague of mine, Olga Kongo from Lisbon, and her colleagues have written this. And the computational idea and information is very central in this connecting of sciences. Qualitative Complexity, another book. A new kind of science, you can find it on the web. It is free of charge. There is a web page for this book. And again, you can find this, all of this on my web page, all those links and all the materials. So if you want to see those books, I recommend them very much. The Programming the Universe, a quantum computer scientist takes on the cosmos. It's Seth Lloyd, famous physicist, MIT guy who is constructing a quantum computer. He has written a book. It's a pleasant book to read, no mathematics, no complications. You get these basic ideas about computing universe. The same goes for Vlatko Vedral. He is an Oxford physicist talking about decoding reality. And this reality that we decode is informational in nature. This is a more technical book about interactive computation and also self-modifying systems in biology and cognitive science, also more technical. And this is a very recent and good book edited by Hector Zenu, and a computable universe with articles from very, very prominent people, computationalists, and really very well written, with the introduction by Roger Penrose. And here is for the real end, the list of my books on the same topic. All of them are edited. The first one is edited together with Susan Stewart from Glasgow University. The other is edited with Mark Verdin, that I mentioned, mathematician from UCLA. And the last one, which came out right now in April, is edited together with Raffaella Giovanoli from Rome. So this is also computing nature. All different sorts of processes going on in both human agents and animals and machines and theoretical tests and so on. How to understand nature as a computing system. Thank you.